What's up? Today is February 1st, 2016. This is your boy KC coming at you live with episode 16 of my podcast show. Testing out my new audio equipment. Last week I told y'all that I was picking up the Blue Yeti Pro, and now I got the new Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 audio interface. So now my audio will sound 100 times better than my previous videos. And let's get this started. You know what grinds my gears? I can't stand those types of people that when you're famous, nobody's thinking about you when you're famous, like when you're done out there in the spotlight until you die. And I can't stand those types of people. Like, let's use David Bowie for instance. Nobody was thinking about David Bowie except for people that were true fans of his. Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that I was a fan of his music just because he died. I'm feeling really bad that he did die, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, he was the greatest singer of all time, because he wasn't. And those are the type of people that get on my nerves, because George Carlin, I actually watched George Carlin's stand-up, so I know he was one of the greatest comedians of all time. So the people that will step out that never heard his stuff, they're saying, oh, he was one of the best, or he's the greatest. And I'm sick of seeing people like that because they're so fake, because they don't know a damn thing about it. Let's talk about wrestling. Let's talk about Owen Hart. When Owen Hart died, I truly was hit by that, because I've been a fan of Owen Hart since day one. Since day one, when he came into the company, there were a lot of people who did not even know who Owen Hart was, who's sitting up there saying, oh, he was one of the greatest wrestlers. Oh, he should have been WWF champion. Oh, he should have been in the Hall of Fame. You don't even know nothing about Owen Hart. I can't stand that. People are so fake and phony these days with that bullshit, and that's what grinds my gears. On to the wrestling portion of my show, where we talk about wrestling only. And I'm going to talk about last week's Raw, because last week's Raw was an interesting show. Now, I'm not going to go through every match point for point, because I'll tell you one thing. I got so bored during some of those segments and some of the matches on that show, so I'll just go by the high points of the night. And how can I start with the highest point of the night without talking about the most electrifying man in sports entertainment? The Rock, one of my all-time favorites, coming back to Raw and doing something that should have been done, that needs to be done more, going off the script. How awesome was that for him to get out there and acknowledge the dudes that were dressed as Hulk Hogan, as himself, as Undertaker, and my favorite, the Macho Man Randy Savage here, dig it? He was awesome, man. We need more fresh stuff like that, because The Rock has more charisma than any other wrestler on that roster right now, and it's been so stale lately. It was so nice to see him come back and change things up and shake things up, whether WWE was happy about it or not, because quite frankly, I don't think The Rock gave a damn about it. He knew. The Rock is a fan of wrestling, and he knows exactly what to do. He's not going to follow no script. So that was the highlight of the show. The second part of the show that I liked, watching AJ Styles in his very first Raw match against Chris Jericho. And although it was a good match, I was kind of disappointed that they didn't save that for WrestleMania, because that should have been a WrestleMania caliber match. Chris Jericho has a lot of matches in him, but this guy is a made man, and so is AJ Styles. So it would have been nice to see a heel Jericho go up against a babyface AJ Styles, give them a program for a few months, and I just didn't like the fact that they blew it off on Raw. Now, AJ Styles did win his match. It was pretty good, but I just wish that they would have saved it for WrestleMania. Other than that, to be honest, the show just kind of bland and bored me to death. Like, it just all ran together until we got to the last segment of the show. Now, this is going back to the whole thing about me saying on my last week's show how WWE doesn't make any sense anymore. Now, they went through hell. Vince McMahon himself went through hell specifically to make sure that Roman Reigns did not have the WWE title anymore by putting it on the line in the Royal Rumble. Am I right? So tell me, why the hell would they take Roman Reigns and put him back into a match where he could win his title back? The match at WWE Fastlane is going to be Brock Lesnar versus Dean Ambrose versus Roman Reigns. That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, because first off, Brock Lesnar got eliminated in the Rumble early. That's one. What did he do to earn a title match? I don't know. I don't have nothing against Brock, but he really didn't earn a title match to me. Dean Ambrose has been on a losing streak for a long time until he beat Kevin Owens at the Royal Rumble. But he's in there to take the losing fall. That's his role, because you're not going to beat Brock. Brock is not going to lay down for anybody, and you can't beat Roman Reigns. He's going to win the match. Get no mistake about it. Roman Reigns is going to win the title. The only other way I can see this happening is if you have Dean Ambrose turn heel and steal the belt from his best friend. It wouldn't make any sense, but it would be something fresh. But you know they're going to put the belt back on Roman, which it makes me scratch my head. Why the hell would you take the belt off of him in the first place? Why didn't you just have him go in to the triple threat match as the champion and defend? What was the whole point of defending the title in the Royal Rumble? I tell you why. To feed Triple H's ego. See, his idol is Ric Flair. Ric Flair, up to that point, was the only wrestler in history to ever win the title in the Royal Rumble, because the 1992 Royal Rumble was the only Royal Rumble with the title on the line. So what way would Triple H win the title back then in the Royal Rumble? Now, I don't know if this was his idea, or if it was Vince's idea, or if it was Stephanie's idea, but it was a complete waste of time. This is so stupid the way they're booking things these days. And I'm getting to the point to where I'm just like, why am I watching this? Why am I watching this stuff? So that's the big money match at Fastlane. It's going to be Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns versus Dean Ambrose. So Dean Ambrose could lose to either one of them. I don't see them putting the title on Brock again, because what would be the point? He was already the champion. He barely defended it. Brock can have some kick-ass matches, and I know for a fact that match is gonna steal the show. It is. It's gonna steal the show. I don't know about this authority thing. This thing has been going on way too long. It's time to end it. It's time to end this bullshit, this best for business bullcrap, because putting the title on Triple H is not best for business. I don't care what nobody says. End rant. So we had something going on with Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch, and the match didn't even really get started, because Charlotte came out and just interfered and started wailing on them, and they started brawling. This is what I like to see. This is what I want to see with these girls. No divas bullshit. None of that catty bullshit that they do with the divas. These are girls that just want to destroy each other, and that's the way I want to see it. They're on an equal plane with the fellas. They need more stuff like that. No more total divas bullshit. This is beef between these three girls. They want the title, and I still think they should trash that Divas title and bring back the women's title. WWE, if you're listening. But these girls want to get each other. And you know what's great about this whole thing? These are three girls that they brought up from NXT. NXT women are in the same match. All of them can wrestle. And I know that they could go out there and have probably the second or even the best match on the show. Why not? Their triple threat match might outshine Brock's, Reigns, Ambrose's match. They have the ability to do it, because you look at all the matches that Sasha Banks has had, and Becky Lynch and Charlotte. Good God. I love that woman. I love the way that she goes out there, and she just, it's not about her being Ric Flair's daughter. A lot of people have problems against her. They think that she got everything handed to her because she's Ric Flair's daughter. That girl is one of the best female wrestlers I've ever seen. And that's a long thing right there, because I've been a wrestling fan for a long time. And Mickie James, I loved her. Trish Stratus, I loved how she came up and she proved people wrong, because Trish Stratus didn't have much experience as a wrestler, and she had some great matches, her and Mickie together. Manami Toyota, who is my all-time favorite female wrestler. All time. Nobody is above her to me. But if I had to pick a second, it would have to be Charlotte. Charlotte has to be in second place on my list of favorite female wrestlers. That's how much I love that female, with Sasha coming in third, because these girls are amazing. And I want to see some more of this stuff. I want to talk about TNA for a minute. I have two things that I want to talk about real quick. One is James Storm, because James Storm has re-signed with TNA. I thought for sure he would end up in NXT, but maybe it was something that he just wasn't happy with. I'm not going to say that. I did read an interview that he recently had, he was talking about how he feels he can still help TNA. He spent so much of his career in that company that he just feels that he has so much more that he can do for that company. And I don't have a problem with him going back to TNA. I'm not that type of guy who's going to be like, oh man, you suck. But James Storm needs to realize that that very small window of opportunity to get in WWE at his age is pretty much closed now. Now, he says that the door is still open, but I don't see them, being honest, I don't see them reaching out for James Storm after this. Because he chose to go back to TNA. He's not getting any younger. You know, the guy can still go, but he's not getting any younger. So I don't see WWE picking him up again. You know what I'm saying? This was his opportunity to be in the big leagues. He turned it down. You know, because I see it like this. You know, on an off note, right, Craig? You know, I want to talk about these fans here that continue to bash TNA and Evolve and Dragon Gate and all of these other wrestling companies like New Japan and Lucha Underground. They bash it because all I hear from these ignorant people is, oh, this sucks and this sucks. You're basically telling me that you would rather watch WWE all the time. You would rather watch this bullshit that they keep peddling out every single week. This stuff that makes no sense at all. The half-ass script writing that they put. This is not the same WWE that we all grew up with in the Attitude Era and the Golden Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era. This is a very, very boring down period for WWE as far as I'm concerned. And if it wasn't for the other promotions that are other options to watch, I don't think I could continue to watch wrestling like I do now. If it wasn't for Lucha Underground and New Japan Wrestling and all them other promotions, NXT, all of them together. And I'm so sick and tired of hearing people always, that you basically want to limit it to just one promotion. Can you imagine if the only wrestling you could watch is WWE in the United States? You know how many wrestling fans would just cut off wrestling right then and there? I'm just so sick and tired of hearing people complain about it. Oh, TNA sucks. TNA, I wish their company would die. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see any wrestling company go under. Why the hell would I want to see TNA go under? Yes, they're a company that is basically dead in the water because of their own stupidity and making the decisions that they make, not paying their wrestlers on time and all the stupid bullshit that they're doing. But I don't want to see them go under. You know, what kind of person would wish that? Because I like the option to be able to watch different types of wrestling anytime that I want to. Not just Vince McMahon throwing the same shit out every week. This Even Stevens bullshit, I talked about it in last week's show. I'm not going to go back over that. But I just want more options because I am a pro wrestling fan. I'm not a WWE fan. I am a professional wrestling fan, period. I watch it all. I watch Shimmer with all the women wrestlers. I watch all of that. You know what I'm saying? And I don't like when people try to limit the options by saying that WWE is better than every other promotion and all these other promotions suck and all this needs to die and go away. Y'all a bunch of idiots. That's all I got to say about that. So James Storm, good luck to you. The other thing I want to talk about in TNA is Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy apparently re-signed with TNA. I thought for sure that the end game would be him back in WWE again because at one time in his career, Jeff Hardy was the most popular wrestler in the world. To the point to where he put the world title and the WWE title on him. You know, I don't know if there's some kind of animosity between Jeff and WWE. You know, maybe it was a negotiating type thing that he was trying to say, that he said he wouldn't mind going back to WWE. You know, it can't be the money because I don't think he will ever make as much money in TNA as he did in WWE. That is the absolute truth. Because when he was the world champion, he was making that good money. But if that's what he wants to do, if he wants to stay in TNA, then more power to him. Maybe he feels the same way that James Storm feels. Maybe he feels that he can help them. You know, so I say good luck to Jeff Hardy also. On an NXT note, I want to talk about two matches that I'm looking forward to at the next NXT TakeOver show. Now, the whole card is stacked. I'm looking forward to the show itself, the whole entire show. But the two matches that stand out to me the most is Bayley versus Asuka, because I've been waiting for that since Asuka first came in. And I don't even need to really say anything about my girl Bayley. Her work speaks for herself. There's nothing that I can say about that girl that can make her sound any better than she already is. Asuka, I took the time to go back over the past couple of months and watch a lot of her matches from her previous promotions that she's worked in, and this girl is amazing. This girl has so much ability, and I'm telling you right here, these two have the ability to go out there and have possibly the best match of that NXT TakeOver show, even more than the main event, which is Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor for the NXT Championship. That's another match that I'm looking forward to, and I want to see how this is going to go, because I think this is very smart for NXT to bring back Joe as another challenger, because that puts that down in your mind. Now, why would they put Joe back in the picture unless they were going to put the title on him the second time around? And it leaves that hook, it leaves that hanging over the wrestling fans' head. That's what I'm talking about. You're giving them that doubt in their mind. You're giving them that doubt that Finn Balor may lose the championship to Samoa Joe this time around. And I love stuff like that. This is what made wrestling great. Those are the two matches that I'm looking for the most. I'm not going to give y'all all the spoilers to that card, because like you guys, I hate when people give away stuff. In fact, shows that already do that, I skip ahead of it. So those are the two matches that I'm looking for right there. On to the video game portion of my show, where we talk about video games for the video game fans. And I sat here and I thought of 3 things that I want to talk about in this portion. I look at all the new systems that are out there right now, the PS4, the Xbox One, the Nintendo Wii U, and I feel that some other companies maybe should step up and throw their hat in the ring, so to speak. No pun intended, because I just talked about wrestling. I want to see a new system from Sega. Sega is long overdue. See, they pretty much killed themselves when they was cluttering the market with all the Sega products, the Sega CD, the Sega 32X, the Sega Saturn, which I still feel to this day had the potential to be one of the greatest systems that Sega ever made, but nobody ever gave it a chance because they were so overwhelmed with Sega products. Nobody just gave a crap. Nobody gave a shit. You know what I'm saying? But the last system that Sega came out with was the Sega Dreamcast, which had the potential to be one of the best systems out there, and I feel that it actually was. That it was powerful enough and it was good enough to rival the Sony PlayStation 1, which was out at that time too. But when Sony came out with the PlayStation 2, that was pretty much the kiss of death for Sega as a company, to the point to where they started making games for the rivals, and you know that's bad. And a lot of years have passed since the Sega Dreamcast pretty much was shelved for the rest of our lives, and I think that Sega really needs to, I don't know if they even have the money to do it, but I would love to see Sega come out with a new system for this generation. You know, if they can get their hands on good engineers and they can get their hands on some of the technology that they have out here today, I know they can do it. Now, who knows how far it would go, but at least it would give us some more options. There's that thing that I just said, more options. Because right now, to be honest, on a side note, I'm looking at the PS4, the Wii U, the Xbox One. There's nothing that makes me want to go get any of those systems. To be honest, yes, they're all great technology. You know what I'm saying? I'm not knocking all them, but the games, and it's just the games just are just ports of the last system, not the Wii U, so to speak. The Wii U, even though they keep coming out with Pokemon and Mario games, at least they keep coming out with fresh things. But the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 have been nothing but ports from the last system. Let's be honest now. How many ports are there for PS4? They just bought games that were for the PS3, updated the graphics. They're doing it again with the Resident Evil HD collection. They're doing it again. A port from the PS3. You know, Sony has more ideas than that, but I'm just looking at it like this. I'm like, what do I really want to get a PS4 for, or Xbox One? I'm not going to play any of it. I got everything I need with my PS3 right there until they come out with the next awesome game that's gonna make me say, alright, I'm gonna put my money down to buy a new system. I'm not feeling it right now. And I just wish it wasn't like that. Let's just put it that way. Back to what I was saying. Another company that I feel needs to try to throw their hat out there and make another system. SNK, Neo Geo. I would love to see Neo Geo have another shot at making another system. And they need to do things right this time, because I love the Neo Geo console and I love the Neo Geo Pocket. I love those systems. The problem with Neo Geo is that their systems were so damn expensive and their games were so damn expensive that nobody could afford one. Do you honestly think that my father would pay the kind of money that they wanted for their systems when he could get cheaper, a Super Nintendo cheaper, a Sega Genesis cheaper? Any of those systems that were much cheaper than the Neo Geo, they went overboard with that price range. But it's been a long time. I would like to see Neo Geo with a new system with a reasonable price. Don't come out here with no $800, $900 bullshit, because you're not gonna win that way. And last but not least, I know that these guys damn near went bankrupt from all the shit that they went through. If they already are bankrupt, Atari. I would like to see one last hurrah from the company Atari. I would like to see one last gaming console from them, and it doesn't even matter what it is. It doesn't have to be updated graphics. I would like to see a Atari console that plays all the old school Atari games. Like, they just put a whole collection together built into one system where it plays Pac-Man and it plays all the games that we remember that made Atari popular. You know what I'm saying? I would love to see that. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular like the PS4. It doesn't have to have online play. It would be nice if it had all that. But I think we owe it to Atari, because these guys were the ones before Nintendo started, beefing up the video game world. Atari was already doing it. Atari was leading the video game world by a storm. They were kicking ass. You know what I'm saying? So I think that we owe it to Atari to at least give them another system. I sat down and I played another game for the PS Vita this week. It's called Freedom Wars. I know a lot of people have already played it. I'm probably late on the whole thing. But Freedom Wars is a game where you could create your own character, and the plot of the whole story is you're basically in jail for a ridiculous amount of time. It don't seem like you're ever going to get out of there, and basically what you have to do is complete missions to reduce your time in jail. That's pretty much the basis of this story. And you have escorts that are in your jail cell that you can't go that far from. This game is it has a lot of restrictions in this game. You can't run too far or you get time added onto your time in jail. You can't talk to the opposite sex. There's a lot of things you can't do at first, but as you complete each chapter, you get more and more freedom, better costumes. You get a large amount of weapons, including guns, staffs, swords, rocket launchers, anything that you want to do to destroy robots and other teammates. You can do online play, and it's a very interesting game. To some other people, it might be like, it's the same, Japanese video game play that they always do, but I enjoy that kind of thing. I enjoy the freedom to be able to create my character and to put anything I want on the character, to have any kind of weapon I want. I've always loved games that gave me the freedom of that, because you can put your personality in your character. So I would definitely suggest this game to anybody. Sit down, give it a try. It's a little slow at first with the long cutscenes and the scripts, because there's a lot of talking as there are in a lot of JRPGs. And this is a Fate of Rome. This is not a turn-based game. So if you have a PS Vita and you don't have Freedom Wars, you need to pick it up and give it a shot. I also want to start a new session here where I talk about the video game of the week. Just like I do the anime of the week, which will be in the next session of my show. I want to pick a random video game that I haven't played in years, or maybe some of you guys have never played, or some people that have played it but just need to feel that nostalgia when I talk about this game and I review it, and my experiences growing up playing these games. And the first game I'm going to talk about is one of the most difficult fighting games in the history of fighting games, and that would be Mortal Kombat 2. Now, no game in history gave me more gray hair than Mortal Kombat 2 because the AI is so damn cheap in that game. The AI is designed to kick your ass, to not give you any chances. And I'm talking about the arcade version and none of that little girly crap where you put the game on easy. I played the game on medium or the hardest difficulty because that's how I roll. But this game is a pain in the ass. It's fun and it keeps you coming back, but I've never seen, and you guys know what I'm talking about, where the computer reads every single move that you are about to do or you already do. And there's nothing more irritating in a game when you think you hit the computer first, where you go for a sweep and you clearly think that you hit them and they walk right through your attack and they throw you. You know what I'm talking about. They throw you every 2 seconds. That is the cheapest move in the game. They throw you all over the place, no matter what you do. When you do Raiden's Torpedo, they throw you. When you do Sub-Zero or Reptile Slide, they throw you. And this is a trend that continued into Mortal Kombat 3. And when you try to throw them, they read your button input and they still throw you. And that was the game that gave me nightmares as a kid. Not because of the blood or the fatalities or anything. It's because the game was so damn hard. What kind of guys are that? Midway or NetherRealms or whoever you guys are. Now, Ed Boon, you must be some kind of masochist to put a game out there like that. You know how many childhoods you've tortured with Mortal Kombat 2, man? Mine was one of them, man. But the game is still fun to this day. If you've never played Mortal Kombat 2, go back to the archive and play it, check it out. You're definitely missing out on something. For the people who have played them, go back and feel that nostalgia again. On to the anime portion of my show where we talk about the anime of the week. And the anime of this week is Rurouni Kenshin, one of my all-time favorite animes of all time. I'm going to say it again because it's that great. This anime I couldn't find on DVD anywhere. I couldn't find it online anywhere until I got back on Netflix and I found out that they have, sweet Netflix has the whole entire series on Netflix. And I thought I died and went to heaven, and I sat down and I watched it and all of it came back. Some of the most epic sword fights I've ever seen. And I talked about Samurai Deeper Kyo last week. How awesome would that be to have Batosai the Manslayer versus Demonized Kyo in an epic sword fight where it's just, I would love to see that. It's just crazy, man. Anyways, Rurouni Kenshin is a story about Kenshi Imura, who is a wandering swordsman who in his previous life was called Batosai the Manslayer, which was the killer of all men. And he was a bloodthirsty murderer for the stuff that he used to do. And something happened to him in his previous life to where he just became a wandering swordsman. Where he carries a unique sword, which is a reverse blade sword, which is sharp on the inside of the blade, but not the outside that's supposed to cut, if you know what I'm talking about. And he ends up going to the school with this annoying woman named Kiori, who is pretty much teaching her students about her father's sword techniques. That's what the school is about. And Kenshin just protects her in the school. That's pretty much what the plot is of this whole thing. And you have a bunch of enemies, a bunch of guys trying to capitalize off Kenshin's previous reputation as Batosai. Some of them even calling themselves Batosai the Manslayer. And slowly as the anime progresses, you see a lot of sword skills come out of Kenshin. For a guy that you would think would never hurt a fly and was probably the nicest guy you ever met, the way that they portray his character, when he starts fighting, it's a completely different thing. It's like he has two personalities. Similar to Samurai Deeper Kyo with Kyoshiro, Mibu, and Demonized Kyo being trapped in the same body. It's pretty much the same thing with Rurouni Kenshin, and it's a very good anime. And anime fans, if you have never seen this, you need to go and watch it. If you're an anime fan who enjoys samurai animes, this will definitely interest you. I did get a chance to sit down and watch a couple of Dragon Ball Super episodes, and I gotta say, this is basically the Battle of Gods. The first season is the Battle of Gods movie broken up into 30-minute segments. And for the people who did watch my videos in my past, a couple of years ago, I talked about the Battle of Gods movie and how I felt about it. And I really don't want to go through it again, but I will put it in a nutshell. I love the fighting scenes. I hated the comedy in the movie. Because when you take somebody as badass as Vegeta and you turn him into a joke and you have him doing shit that Master Roshi or Krillin should be doing, or even Emperor Pilaf, they could have used him for stupid shit like that. You don't have someone who is a bloodthirsty killer who is supposed to be feared by a lot of people in the Dragon Ball world, and you make him dance and sing about bingo. I hated every second of it. You have Piccolo singing karaoke. Piccolo is my favorite character in the series, and for him to do stupid shit like that, it was killing me. It was making me sick to my stomach. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm a huge anime fan. You don't do things like that. You would never make the main character look so freaking goofy, or the second main character, because Vegeta is the second main character. Goku's the main character. If you watch GT, you would know that. So I'm going to continue to watch the Dragon Ball Super series and see what it turns into. Now, on a side note, as a huge Dragon Ball fan, I have to say, while looking at Dragon Ball Super, it really doesn't look as good as Dragon Ball Z did, and that's a series that came out years before. The anime looks good enough, but you would think since it's new, it would look way better. And a lot of the designs of the characters I don't like. Gohan looks even worse than he did. What happened to the spiky hair? He looks like Yamcha now. He looks like Yamcha with glasses. I'm like, what did they do to Gohan? Gohan is so irrelevant now. This used to be one of my favorite characters. What did they do to him? They mutilated him. He's nobody. He's literally a minor character in Dragon Ball. Oh my god. I'm not going to keep going through that. I'm not going to keep going down that road, but I hope they clean up the anime and they make it look a little better. Now, I want to talk about the transformations. The Super Saiyan transformations. There you go, for the anime fans, so they can get off my damn back, because they said I've been saying it the wrong way. I've been calling it Saiyan, and they get so mad because people say Saiyan. That's not our fault. Blame Funimation. Blame the Ocean Dub, because they were the ones that put that in our heads. But it is Super Saiyan. That's the way it's spelled. That's the way it's said. So there you go. Get off my case. I like a lot of the Super Saiyan. There you go. So you guys can get off on that transformation. I like 1, 2, and 3. However, I don't like the Super Saiyan God form or Super Saiyan God 2. If I'm just going to call it that, because I'm not going to go through all that bullshit that they call it now. Because I don't like the requirements that you need to turn into a Super Saiyan God. You need 5 pure-blooded Saiyans to be able to even do the transformation. And I think Goku said it best himself when he said he hated the form because it wasn't his own power. And I completely agree with Goku there, because Goku is the strongest good guy. The strongest good guy in the Dragon Ball universe. And he should have been able, with all the training that he was doing, he should have been able to do this on his own. He didn't need them other people to do that. That was the concept that just made it lackluster and disappointing to me. As well as the Super Saiyan 4 form. I'm sorry, Super Saiyan 4. It's a force of habit, sorry. Super Saiyan 4 in GT. But you know what I don't like about that form? Is that nobody explains how it's done. What happens to Goku or Vegeta when they become Super Saiyan 4? Nobody explains what you have to do to become that. It just happens. Now the form looks pretty cool with the red fur and all that stuff, but it could have been so much better. Goku just gets his black hair back. It's a little longer. Vegeta's doesn't really look any different. All they did was just put a mullet in the back of his head on top of his regular hair. It wasn't really that impressive. That's one of the things that I hated about GT. As you know, and they're talking about, it's a good thing that GT doesn't really exist in Super. A lot of people are saying it's an alternate universe, and if it is, that's good, because I never liked GT to begin with, and they could keep that universe out there somewhere where nobody ever has to watch it again. So that's episode 16 of my show. I hope y'all enjoyed the things that I had to talk about today. Check out my YouTube channel where I got a shitload of content from Let's Plays. I got a couple of new ones coming out. I have some new top 10s that I want to get out there. I hope y'all take a look at my top 10 least favorite Robot Masters from Mega Man. A lot of people have been checking it out. I got pretty good views so far. Y'all start leaving me some comments and leave a brother some love. You can check out my page on Facebook, KC the Most. Go there and give a couple of likes. Give a brother some love on that page too. And that's all I got to say. This is your boy KC. I'll check y'all out later. Peace.